Today you're going to be taking notes on the basic components of a sentence, which are the subject and the predicate. We'll be looking specifically at the simple subject and predicate, complete, and the compound subjects and predicates. So first off, what makes a sentence? So here's three sentences. He smiles, autumn leaves twirl gently to the ground, the park district will open an outdoor ice skating rink in November. All of these have one thing in common, even though they are vastly different, and that is that they have two parts. In order to be a sentence, something has to have a subject and a predicate. The subject is always going to be a noun or a pronoun. The predicate is always going to be a verb. So at its most basic, you have to have two words. So the subject should answer the question who or what did something, and the verb is what was being done, or what state of being is being explained. So he smiles, two words. And so we have our subject and our predicate. Same there. We should be able to break a sentence, at least a simple sentence, that only has one independent clause into these two parts. Now when we get into more complex kinds of sentences that have two independent clauses or an independent clause and a dependent clause, obviously you can't just break it in half like we're going to do here, but we'll start from this. So a sentence is like a bike. I want you to take note of this comparison because you're going to have to be able to explain it yourself. The subject being the first part of the wheel, right, where the handlebars are, and the predicate being in the back where the seat is. This is a good comparison because the subject always comes before the predicate. Always, except if it's a question. So I'm fairly fine saying always since we're not talking about questions here for the most part. So, I already said that. The sentence basics, you can break a sentence in two, one part being the subject and one part being the predicate. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to be able to find that place where everything to the left is the subject and everything to the right is the predicate. So I find it most useful to find the verb first. So I might ask, what's happening here? I see that someone is smiling. Who's smiling? That's the subject. So I would draw a line between them. Of course, this is a very simplistic sentence, so it would not be very hard if you knew that the subject always comes before the verb. There's only two options. For autumn leaves twirl gently to the ground, same thing. Forgive my things being off here. I don't want to correct them right now. So leaves, autumn leaves is my complete subject, which we'll get into in a minute, and twirl gently to the ground is the predicate. So there's a difference in terms of naming your subject between a complete subject and a simple subject. The complete subject is the noun or pronoun and all the words modifying it. So in the sentence, the cheerful yellow flowers brighten the front porch, the complete subject is the cheerful yellow flowers. And that is the whole entire wheel on our bike. So it's the wheel in its entirety. On the other hand, we have the simple subject, and that's the main noun or pronoun in the complete subject. So in this case, the cheerful yellow flowers, well, there's only one noun. It's being modified by an adjective, and another adjective, and then another adjective. So if the complete subject is the entire wheel, then the simple subject is just one component of the wheel, such as the hub, or if you prefer, one of the spokes. So it's just, well, the hub is a better comparison because it's the key part. And so there is the simple subject versus the complete subject. In terms of finding the simple subject within the complete subject, there we go. My little brother broke his finger. Simple subject being brother. Let's look at this one. His uncle will ask for directions. So one way we can approach this is we could find the verb first. We've got will ask, we've got a helping verb and a main verb. And then, so we can draw our line right there. And so we've got his uncle is the complete subject, and the simple subject is uncle, because this is the noun or pronoun. Same thing for here. Those students carried backpacks. Our verb is carried, so we would divide it right here. And our complete subject is those students, and our simple subject is students. For the third one, our babysitter is late again. Is my verb. It's a linking verb, and it's linking babysitter equals late. And so I would draw my line right here, and my complete subject is our babysitter, and my simple subject is babysitter. Okay. It's the exact same for the predicate. Okay, the complete predicate is the verb and all the words that are modifying it, which often will mean after that break. Okay, there's never ever any exception, but let's just say for our purposes that there's not. So we have our sentence again. The cheerful yellow flowers brighten the front porch. Okay, brighten the front porch, everything after the break is the complete predicate. The complete predicate, much like this complete subject, is the entirety of the wheel. All right, without it, we don't have the entirety of the sentence. A simple predicate, though, is the main verb or the verb phrase in the complete predicate. So when I say verb phrase, I'm talking about if it's a helping verb and a main verb. Otherwise, it would usually just be one verb if it was a linking verb or an action verb. So the cheerful yellow flowers brighten the front porch. Brighten the front porch is the complete predicate, but the actual verb in there, not the front porch, which is telling you what's being brightened, that is the simple predicate. And once again, the simple predicate is just that hub of the back wheel, the essential part. So if we went back to the sentence here and I said flowers, the simple subject, brighten, the simple predicate, it would make sense. It's not a good sentence, but it has some meaning. So when you take it to its most simplified part there, you still have something. So let's look here. What is the simple predicate within the complete predicate? My little brother broke his finger. Broke his finger, right? His uncle will ask for directions. So remember, we drew the line right here, and we've got will ask for directions as the complete predicate, and will ask as the simple predicate. Remember, this is a helping verb and an action verb. Those students carried backpacks. Carried backpacks is my complete predicate. Simple predicate is carried. And our babysitter is late again. Is late again is the complete predicate. Is my simple predicate. So, last point, compounds. The compound subject is when you have two or more subjects joined by the conjunction and. Michael and his teammates are Olympic athletes. So this whole thing is the complete subject. Michael and teammates would be the simple subjects. It's both of them. Every morning, he and the other athletes swim laps. He and athletes are my subjects because they are the people who are swimming. And so if you break the sentence, then underline the compound subject here. The necklace and bracelet matched. Here's where my break would go, because matched is my verb, and bracelet and necklace are the things that match, so those are my compound subjects. The necklace and bracelet is the complete subject. The heat and the drought ruined the crops. Here's my verb, so my break would go right there. Heat and drought are my compound subjects. And my sister and brother planned the surprise party for me. Planned is my verb, so I would break it right there. Sister and brother are my compound subject. Complete predicate is when you have two or more predicates joined by the conjunction and. Lisa pitches and hits in the softball game. Pitches and hits are the compound subject. Predicate. She worked hard, practiced, and won the championship. Worked, practiced, and won are my compound predicates. So we could have 10 more of these if we wanted to. I mean, that would be a terrible sentence. But, of course, the theory is that you could have an infinite amount of compound predicates. So, real quick, break the sentence up. The puppy rolled in the mud and needed a bath. All right, here's my first verb, so here's where I would break it. Rolled and needed are my compound predicates. My uncle runs a business and teaches piano on the side. We would break it right here, and we've got runs and teaches are my compound predicates. I hired Miss Fisher and fired Mrs. Cook. We would break it right there. Hired and fired are my complete predicates. So on your notes now, I want you to, in your own words, explain. How is a sentence like a bike? Explain the analogy in terms that an elementary student would understand. What is the relationship between a simple and complete subject and predicate? I want you to come up with your own sentence that has different simple and complete subjects and predicates and label it. 3, what is the relationship between a compound subject predicate and a complete subject and predicate? And 4, label the sentence based off the directions. So I've given you some of your own that you are going to label. This thank you at the end of this goes out to Joseph. So this is just for him, since he keeps commenting on me. Thanking you for listening to my broadcasts. Have a good night.